Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Arkansas Highway Commission. I'd like to welcome those of you who are present in the hearing room and all that may be joining us on the PBS broadcast. First of all, I'd like to remind everybody that we're using our microphones today. If you are speaking, recognize, speak, or got a comment, well, please turn your microphone off. On. If you are not speaking, please turn it off, and I'll mostly remind myself of that, but I'll be reminding you if necessary. Also, I'd like to, as we do on our meetings for our protocol on the COVID virus, which is still with us. We would like to do electronic signatures so we don't have to pass paper around. Somebody make a motion for that. We'll take care of that. Motion, they're all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll use the electronic signatures. First order of business be approving the minutes from the December meeting. If everyone's had an opportunity to review those minutes, have any changes? No changes. Have a motion that we approve the minutes from the December meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Motion approved. The next item on our agenda will be our minute orders. And as we have done in the past, if you have a question or comment on the minute order, please let me know. I'll recognize you. We'll have a discussion on that minute order. Then we'll move on. If I don't see any comments or questions, we will consider the minute order approved, and I'll ask Dave to proceed under those directions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Starting with minute order number 1, found on page 1, it ratifies the actions of the purchasing committee. Minute order 2, found on page 7, this authorizes the payment for membership into the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Organization. This is the annual fee. Minute order number 3, found on page number 13, authorization to process payment for the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. It's the annual membership fee of $1,000. Minute order 4, found on page 23, authorization to update the Arkansas Marine Use of Motor Fuel Study and to enter an agreement with Game and Fish Commission for the purpose of updating the revenue transfer formula.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question on that. What is the bottom line impact on that change in the marine? Do we have a number? Is it in here?
No, we don't have a number. I mean, we know what we're, right now it's 0.63 of 1% that goes towards marine fuel tax program, or the marine program. What we're going to be doing is relooking at all the formulas and the variables that go into that formula to see if it's still a fair way of calculating how much of the gasoline that is sold in the state goes for marine purposes.
Let me add to that, Commissioner Taldo. I had some communication with Director of Game and Fish, Pat Fitz, regarding this. And in our discussion, we all realize this, that we all serve the same public, and the public that they serve getting to their marine activities comes over all the public roads that we maintain, state and federal roads. And then, of course, the money, a great portion of the money that they collect off this are used on secondary roads that people coming off our roads get to the lakes and the rivers and the boat ramps and so forth. And so it was my opinion and discussed with the director, and felt like it certainly was appropriate for us to update, get the best information we can as to what what portion of the taxes paid on our motor fuel is actually used in marine activities, and try to get that updated so we have a adequate amount to maintain that portion of the infrastructure that we may not directly oversee. So I think it's a very good public purpose all around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to minute order number 5, found on page 26. This minute order allows us to renew a 3-year agreement to continue training and certification with the Center for Training Transportation Professionals. This is with the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. Minute order 6, found on page 28. This allows us to advertise for transportation-related research grant program applications annually.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify, this is the grants to the universities that come through the Highway Department. And I think I clarified this last year, and I'll probably clarify this next year. This is a result of a legislative act, is that correct? That was passed in 2017?
That's
So we're
correct.
just following the guidelines that the legislature set out for us.
This funding can only be used for this one purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Minute order 7, found on page 41, out of Hempstead County. This minute order authorizes the purchase of property located between the District 3 headquarters in Hope and the new Residence Engineer Office 32. This is for the purpose of securing storage space. Minute order 8, found on page 43. This minute order declares the property known as Dermott Rest Area as surplus property. Minute order 9, out of Benton County, found on page 48. This declares the property known as tract number 90XR as surplus property. Minute order 10, found on page 53, calls for adding a road in the town of Colt known as Air Park Road to the state highway system as an airport access road, Highway 80. Minute order 11, page 55, out of Washington County, authorization to partner with Fayetteville to modify the Interstate 49, Highway 62, also known as MLK Boulevard interchange, including the construction of the 15th Street overpass of Interstate 49. This would allow for agreements to proceed with surveys and such. Minute order 12, page 72, authorization to partner with Independence County and the cities of Batesville and Southside, and to proceed with surveys, plans, and the construction of a parallel emergency travel lane at the Highway 167 curve near Ramsey Mountain. Minute order 13, out of Baxter County, found on page 83. This calls for the partnering with the city of Mountain Home to replace the Hicks Creek Bridge on Highway 5 as part of a widening project between Highways 62 and Highway 62B. And finally, minute order 14, found on page 86. This minute order acknowledges the February 24th letting. That is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions, comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll move to agenda item number 3 and recognize Department CFO, Mr. Patrick Patton, for revenue update.
Thank you, sir. The state highway revenue update, if you will look at the first slide, right now we're up 7.9% or 17.4 million for our traditional sources of revenue, which include the motor fuel registration, Act 416, and permits and penalties and other categories. The natural gas severance tax is still down about 3 million right now. We don't see it rebounding anytime soon. The interest, we're still, I looked at January's numbers, and in January, we will actually have about $150,000 next to that almost 3 million probably, for the fiscal year 2020. Interest has come in a lot slower this year, and we needed to fund the two, programs, the, RETA program and the grant program first before we get any, interest off of that. Moving to the budgeted versus actual, we're 7.8% or 14.5 million above budgeted revenue for this year so far. The biggest category is motor fuel and registration. If you look at Act 416 budgeted versus actual, which this is the dedicated resources for preservation, motor fuel is at 28.6 million. Registration fees are at 1.1 million. As of right now, we're 1.3 million, 4.6% above budgeted. If you look at fuel consumption, the fuel consumption is pretty steady overall. It's down 1.9% for all categories, 3.7% or 28 million gallons for gasoline, up for diesel by about 7 million gallons. If you look at the rolling 12 months for motor fuel consumption, you can see gasoline year over year is down about 5.1%, and overall down about 3.7%. Moving to the half-cent sales tax, through December, for the year, we're $8 million above budget, or above DF&A's projections. I do have January's numbers in. We had a great month in January, almost 2 million above DF&A's projections. So if you look at the numbers through January, as opposed to the 7.9 million you see at the bottom of the screen, above budget or above DF&A's projections, it's really around $9 million. So that continues to stay strong. And if you look at the half-cent sales tax program, since inception, we're almost 4.4 million above DF&A's projections. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I have one question, Patrick. I think the sort of anomaly with the fuel consumption down, the fuel tax revenue up is Act 416. Is that is
Yes,
correct? Okay. Thank
Is that it? Thank you all.
Okay, as we move through the remainder of our agenda items, I take great pleasure in turning it over to Director Tudor. It's all yours. Call on me when I need to do something.
I'll wake you up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, so moving on with our updates, we have federal highway and transit issues. Kevin Thornton's going to update us on that.
The Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, or FAST Act, expired on September 30th. A previous bill had extended the authority of the FAST Act until September of 2021. However, at that time, we did not have a spending bill for the entire federal year. It took 5 continuing resolutions before Congress and the President could reach an agreement, but I'm pleased to tell you that as of December 27th, we have a spending bill for federal funds until September 30th, 2021. This spending bill was combined with the most recent COVID-19 relief bill. And for the first time, a COVID relief bill included additional funding that was provided to state DOTs for highways. The bill included $10 billion for state DOTs and highways. Arkansas's portion of this is $128.4 million. The department will receive $120 million, and the 3 transportation management areas, Central Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, and West Memphis, will receive a total of $8.4 million. Central Arkansas will receive $4.7 million, Northwest Arkansas will receive 3.2 million, and West Memphis will receive 440,000. There is also greater flexibility in this funding as compared to our usual federal funding. For example, these funds do not require a state match. They're 100% federal. They're also available until 2024. We're going to be working on some recommendations for your consideration on how these funds can be used to best benefit the citizens of Arkansas, and we'll be presenting those at a later time. We are pleased that Congress and the President have seen fit to provide not only a full year's worth of federal funding, but also COVID relief funding that acknowledges the impacts to our transportation funding and to the economy of our state. Thank you.
Kevin?
Yes.
Is that allocation on that $10 billion, is that allocated by population or by miles of road, or how is our share calculated?
I'm not sure of the exact formula, but it takes all that into account. It follows the same funding breakdown that the regular federal funds follow as well. So it's just an extension of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to update you guys on COVID-19, where we're at with our efforts there. As of today, we're $10.4 million down in revenue, what we expected to get and what we've actually gotten since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. All of our traffic patterns have returned to normal. The number of cases are beginning to decrease here in the department as well as statewide, so that's a good indication that things are getting better. The vaccine plan is underway at the state level, and we're getting a vaccine plan down to the finer details here at the department so that we'll be ready to go when we get the word that the vaccines are ready for our employees. Right now, we have 458 total positive cases since the beginning of this pandemic. Right now, there's 37 active. And I'm sad to report that we've had 2 RDOT employees to pass away from the virus. So that's very sad for all of our RDOT family. I'll just make a tribute to them. It was Jimmy Beams he was a District 5 senior mechanic, and Eric Hall, who was a District 6 storeroom assistant. So our thoughts and prayers go out to their families and to those that knew them best in their work family, and we'll just lift them up in our thoughts. Right now, total cases, that includes all suspected cases, potential cases, secondary cases, all of the cases combined were 2,777, and of those, 162 are active.
What was the last figure related to, the 2,000, and what was that related to?
That's related to all the different categories of cases. We have positive cases, then we have suspected cases, then we have potential cases, someone that has been exposed but does not have symptoms. And then we have secondary cases, which the employee has a direct contact with a suspected case. So it's kind of a tier. Overall, 2,777 of our employees, and we have about 3,700 employees, have been affected in some way or fashion.
3/4 of the employees. About. And how many are in that active category, in that big broad category you described?
Right now, 162 are active.
Right.
So just an update on where we're at in the efficiency review study recommendations. We're going to start drafting rules for implementation. That's a requirement, and we're going to start that. We hope to have the draft rules ready for your review and approval by the June 16th commission meeting. And that way we can submit those rules, those final rules, to the Highway Commission Review and Advisory Subcommittee by July 1st. So that's our goal. We continue to work on the 13 recommendations that we were already working on before they were made into a recommendation, but we're continuing that work. And that includes putting together a department correspondence tracking system. Right now, we have a very fragmented tracking system across all the divisions, and we're going to put together a department-wide tracking system so it's easier to see what all has been said about different subjects, different projects, different roads, all of that, and keep up with it in a better fashion. And it should help our response time as well. Things don't fall through the cracks as easy. So we're just working on doing something department-wide. We've also, another thing that we wanted to report is in our appropriations budget, you approved us to go forward with adding some positions for career ladders for our construction and maintenance workers. And that happened to be a recommendation in an efficiency review study. So we're hopeful that that appropriations budget will be passed by the legislature. It did get through committee, but we were able to add quite a few positions to give those career ladders to our employees. And finally, the new website. Our existing website has been, it's very dated. It was created back in 2007, and we've kept it up to date, and it has all the information that you could ever want, and most of it's on our front page. But anyway, and it's full of great information, but there's just, it was time for a facelift. And so we have INA as our consultant that's on board helping us with that. And we've got the draft. It's put together, and we're going through it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure everything's correct. And this just gives you an example of what you're seeing on the screen. On your left is the current front page, and on the right will be the front page once it's rolled out to the public. So as you can see, it's a lot more friendlier and user-friendly and cleaner looking. Now, all the same information is there. It's just organized differently. This just shows you, for example, if you do one of the drop-down boxes, with what you'll see, so you can go anywhere you want. So we'll have all these drop-down boxes, and you can just explore all you want to, but you'll always, they added this for me yesterday, there'll always be a home button so you can get home if you want to. So that's going to be good.
Laurie, let me ask you to sort of expand on one thing that you were talking about, just for people that may be joining us remotely here. If you would give just a very brief synopsis of the Efficiency Review Committee and the benefits of having outside eyes come in and evaluate our activities and working with them, and our position in agreeing on the recommendations that we are now writing the rules. It was a collaborative effort to which we were a part of, and an agreement on the final recommendations that we're passing the rules. I mean, I sort of summarized, but is that sort of correct? So we, to anybody's kind of wondering how this process occurred, and we're doing the rules and submitting them back, or you can probably elaborate a little more clearly. Okay, well, the efficiency review started, it was a result of some legislation that was passed. And it started in earnest in September of 2019. And the Highway Commission Review and Advisory Subcommittee hired a consultant. Their name was Guidehouse. And they came out here, and we just opened everything up, and we talked about everything we're doing and talked about our challenges. We really embraced the opportunity to have some outside eyes come in and look at how we do things. And I'm glad to report at the end of it, there were 13 recommendations, and out of 13 recommendations, 11 we already had
in some form or fashion, we were already implementing. We were moving in that direction. So what that, the final report gave us is the confidence that we are moving in the right direction.
Very much.
Okay, now we have an update on the 93rd General Assembly, which Randy Ort will provide for you guys.
Thank you, Madam Director. We're moving right along with the session. I want to start talking about the timeline just a little bit. This is the timeline that we gave you all late last year, projected timeline for the session, how everything would progress. I'm happy to say that the budget hearings, as the Director alluded to just a few minutes ago, started last fall. We got through our budget hearing just fine. Our budget bill, our appropriation bill has now been filed. Pre-filing began in November, and they did hit this target date of starting the General Assembly on January the 11th. I will tell you, everything to the right of that date has changed now, though, which is not unusual. So, for example, the deadline for filing retirement bills you see here was supposed to have been on January the 25th. That was Monday of last week. That has now been moved to January the 29th. The reason for these filing deadlines is that they recessed for 4 days around the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. They left on that Thursday and did not come back until the following Tuesday. So that moved just about all these dates out 4 days, okay? So the retirement bill filing deadline, as I said, was supposed to have been the 25th. It is now the 29th. That's a moot point for us because all of our retirement bills have been filed. So we're moving forward there. This is one we always watch for constitutional amendments. The original deadline was to be February the 10th. It has now been pushed out to February 17th, which is 2 days from today, because there's a weekend in there. That's why it's a little bit more than 4 days. So far, there's only been 2 constitutional amendments, proposed constitutional amendments filed. Neither one of them have anything to do with us. Both of those are on the House end. There's not been anything filed on the Senate end yet, but there's still 2 more weeks. If any of you are interested in following that on the ArcLeg website, the BLR website, you're going to be looking for House concurrent resolutions, HCRs, or Senate concurrent resolution. I'm sorry, JRs. House joint resolutions, HJRs, or Senate joint resolutions, SJRs. Those are the bill names that you'll be looking for if you want to follow proposed constitutional amendments. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit over here. Oh, not that, still back, but on the timeline. Everybody wants to know, when's the session going to end? And by law, it's a 60-day session. It started January the 11th. It should end March 11th. I don't know in my time if they've ever hit that 60-day window. Right now, there is a resolution pending. It's not been acted on yet to move this date out to April the 9th. I expect they'll probably weigh in on that resolution this week. The bill filing deadline is always 3 days prior to the end of the session. So if this is April 9th, the bill filing deadline is now April the 6th. So there is speculation it could go beyond even April the 9th, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So that's a kind of a quick update on where we are on the timeline right now. Our bills have basically, most of them been filed. We're watching those, watching other ones that affect us, and kind of trying to keep our head down right now. Okay, now, next slide, please. I hope you're aware we've been sending you daily updates on activities at the Capitol, how things are going down there. And the format has been, we start out with highlights for that day, anything that has happened that we think you all need to know about. And then we look at the calendars for the following day, and then we give a brief look ahead at things that we know that might be coming up on the horizon. And then below that, we've simply given a list of bills that we are following, whether they're our legislative package or something else that could affect us. It's the name of the bill, a brief description of the bill, and then links to click to see the full text or the status of the bill and an explanation, more details of the bill. And that's good, but as our bills start going through the process, it's hard in that format to kind of keep up with where they are. So beginning with today's update, we're going to send you a little bit different format. It's still going to have the information at the top. It's going to start out with changes from the day before, the highlights, calendar for the next day, and a brief look ahead. But instead of just a list of bills at the bottom, it's going to have what we call the scorecard. And it's going to be a table similar to what you see on the screen. It's going to give the same information as it did before. For example, the bill number right now, this is what it will look like. If you click on the bill number right here, that goes through, okay. If you click on the bill number, you will get the text of that bill. If you click on the bill description, you will still get the status report and any other information that we have about that bill. But we're adding these columns that kind of give you an idea of where it is in the process. So for example, House Bill 1115 by Representative Wardlaw, this changes the threshold on commercial vehicles. For example, that has already passed the House committee. It's already passed the House floor. It is now the current status. It's down on the Senate end. We loaded this a couple of days ago, and it's actually already been referred to the Senate Transportation Committee, so we will update this. And then once it's actually on a calendar, that will be a clickable link to the actual agenda for that day that bill will be discussed. So I hope this will provide you some more information to be able to follow along where it is in the process. It'll give you the same information we've been giving you, but hopefully give it to you. You can actually go to the next page now. Hopefully give it to you in a format that will be easier to track the progress of these bills in just one document. Also, if any of you are going to our Dropbox account we've set up for the legislature, this will be in there as a document by itself entitled Scorecard. For example, you see some of our retirement bills. We've been told verbally that they're going to be brought up next Monday, but they're not on a calendar yet. Once they get on a calendar, you'll see that calendar link over here on the right. So it's going to look a little different starting today with what we send you, so please look at that, give us your feedback. If you like the old way better, we can easily go back, but hopefully you'll like this format that makes it a little bit easier to keep up with bills as they move through. Any questions?
Randy, I'd just like to say, I think on behalf of the commission, we really appreciate the summary and the manner of the presentation. It's been real easy to follow, and this looks like this is even going to be better. Thank you for your time, staff time involved in doing this. It really allows us to keep up very well and clearly with what's going on. That's important.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It goes out under my name, but it was the director's vision. We got Gil at the Capitol, then it goes through Kevin. It's just my name at the bottom at the end of the day.
She always gets the credit, doesn't she? Well deserved. No, thank you. No, this is really excellent. It's just easy to read, easy to understand, easy to keep up with. Thank you all.
I'll say Randy's our resident knowledge on the legislative process. We rely on him heavily.
That means I'm old. Kind way to say that.
All right.
Worth something.
Next up, I have Jared Wiley. He's our Assistant Chief Engineer for Planning. He's going to present the STIP to you.
Thank you, Director. Commission. Over the past several months, our staff has been hard at work to develop the next STIP that will cover federal fiscal years 2021 through 2024. This update will add 2 fiscal years, 23 and 24, to our current program. We're pleased to report that we're now ready to move forward to the public comment phase on your approval. But first, I want to briefly talk to you about what the STIP is and what it must contain. The Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, identifies the transportation projects that we plan to construct over the next 4 years. Federal funds cannot be used on any project that's not identified in the STIP. The STIP must be financially constrained and must be developed in coordination with our Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or MPOs. Prior to its adoption, the STIP will be made available for a public comment period of 30 days. Our funding strategies in the STIP ensure that the condition of our system remains a top priority as we move forward. We recently released the list of potential projects to our MPOs for them to start their update processes on their long-range plan and their local transportation improvement programs. Arkansas has 8 MPOs. We're coordinating with them presently, and we expect to receive Their approved tips soon. Once we receive those and address all public comments on the STIP, we will send the STIP to Federal Highways and the Federal Transit Administration for approval in the middle part of March. This slide details all those who will be notified directly that the draft STIP has been released for public comment. It totals over 1,200 offices across the state. The department will also issue a press release, run newspaper ads, and announce the STIP's release on social media. All right, let's take a look at the projects that are included in the STIP. In District 1, this map shows what projects we've included in the program. This update will add nearly 250 miles worth of improvements to District 1. In District 2, we're adding over 150 miles of pavement preservation work, as well as continuing the development of future I-69 and Highway 82. In District 3, most of our preservation funding is focused on pavement preservation. That's where our greatest needs are there. In District 4, we've included over 200 miles of pavement preservation. We've continued the development of future Interstate 49, and we've continued to fund capital and capacity improvements that are needed in Fort Smith and in Northwest Arkansas. In District 5, we're looking at adding about 200 miles of pavement preservation work in this update. District 6, similarly, we have 200 miles of pavement preservation work added, and we're continuing the major widening on several of our congested corridors in Central Arkansas. District 7, we're adding 8 bridges, 220 miles of pavements, and continuing development of the Arkadelphia bypass. District 8, we're adding 13 miles of resurfacing of Interstate 40 to the program and capital and capacity improvements in partnership with the cities of Conway and Russellville to this update. District 9, over 200 miles of pavement work, continued capacity improvements on the Highway 112 and 412 corridors, and partnering with Harrison on improvements to Highway 65. In District 10, one of our biggest needs is our bridges. We've added 18 bridges with this update, and we're continuing the development of the future 57 corridor, as well as developing capacity improvement projects in the Jonesboro and Paragould areas. So when you look at this from a statewide perspective, we're adding about 450 projects that cover about 2,000 miles of our system with this update.
Right.
Can I answer any questions you have?
Jared, this is excellent, excellent work.
Thank you.
And will you keep us updated as you go forward with comments you get from the MPOs and the federal officers? You'll keep us in the loop
Absolutely,
on all
yes,
that?
we will. We'll start the public comment period this weekend, and we'll be updating you as soon as we can.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is really exciting, this STIP. I think this really shows the transition we've made for the emphasis on pavement preservation and the bridge replacement. I think those are two things that we've long overdue, and I'm excited to see this. Appreciate everyone's work on it.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
appreciate you.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay.
You need a motion on that this time,
Oh,
on the step, send it out to the public. We're required to approve for the director to authorize her to put this information out to the public for their comment before we get to the phase of the final approval that we summarize this as our federal, before we send it back to Fed. So have a motion that we let that,
So moved.
Alec, motion, second, Philip, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carried. Director.
thank you. Next on the agenda is agenda item 5, which is the consultant selection for on-call computer-aided design and drafting support services. After going out for letters of interest and looking through all that, we're recommending that the Envision Group Incorporated, DBA Envision CAD, recommend that negotiations begin with that company. And I think I need a motion.
Make that motion.
Have a motion, second Keith, second Alex, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, agenda item number 6. The commission approved for us to go out and advertise for qualified firms to provide on-call landslide repair and stabilization services. After going through the process, we recommend that there are 3 firms that we go into an on-call agreement with, and that is Kraus Construction Company, Kessler International, and White River Materials Incorporated. I need a motion to allow us to go into negotiations with these 3 firms.
Motion to approve.
So
Alex,
moved.
Philip, all in favor, say aye. Ayes,
Aye.
have it, no opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Agenda item 7, we'd like to give you a update and a briefing on the Reason Foundation 25th Annual Highway Report, and I've asked Dave Parker, our Public Information Officer, to provide you with that information.
Thank you. Always good. Thank you. Everyone enjoys when you hear that you are moving up in the rankings and the polls to make that top 20, that top 10. That's always a good feeling. It's kind of how we're built. And we are no different here at the Arkansas Department of Transportation. That's why I'm happy to report today that recently RDOT, we have jumped or improved by 23 spots in a recent National Highway Report. The Reason Foundation's annual highway report measures the condition and cost effectiveness of state-controlled highways in 13 categories, including pavement condition, traffic congestion, structurally deficient bridges, traffic fatalities, and spending, just to name a few. This report is based on spending and performance data submitted by state highway agencies to the federal government for 2018, as well as urban congestion and data and bridge condition data from the Better Roads Inventory from 2019. Arkansas's highway system ranks 9th in the nation in overall cost effectiveness and condition. That's according to the report by the Reason Foundation. Again, this is a 23 spot improvement. Very good news from the previous report where Arkansas ranked 32nd. The state improved in most categories, most notably in the urban, interstate, urban arterial, and rural arterial pavement condition categories. Looking at all this, we believe the improvement for the 23 spots or by the 23 spots is proof that our commitment to maintaining our existing highway system is paying off. Always good to hear that. However, we still have a lot of work to do. We recognize that. In safety and performance categories, Arkansas ranks 39th in overall fatality report or rate. We should note that is a slight improvement from the previous report in 2016 when we ranked 45th. So it is getting better, but we do have a lot of room for improvement there. Some other numbers, we are 11th in structurally deficient bridges, 19th in traffic congestion, 34th in urban interstate pavement condition, and 35th in rural interstate pavement condition. On spending, Arkansas ranks 9th in total spending per mile and 25th in capital and bridge costs per mile. The report concludes by saying, while Arkansas has made significant improvement, we still need to reduce our fatality rate and improve our overall pavement conditions. Thank you.
I just had a couple of comments or questions, but one, just to clarify, this is all 50 states are compared, correct, using the same raw data?
Yes, sir. Yes, they are.
Okay. And this report was based in calendar year 2018, I think.
Yes,
So-
sir. 2018.
So we had just started pivoting and putting more of an emphasis on our pavement preservation, I think in 2016, 2017. And so I know 3 of the 4 categories of pavement preservation, we were in the bottom half, but to me, that's going to change dramatically as we move forward in this latest step. So I think that's great news. And then I just want to commend again, I think we're the second lowest in administrative cost per mile in the country. So congratulations on that. That's really, really impressive. Appreciate it. Great report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, now, this is kind of the fun part of the presentation today to you guys, is looking back at 2020 and looking ahead to the future. I always like this part of the commission meeting every year at the beginning of the year. And so we're going to look at our accomplishments, our challenges, and talk about what we're going to do in the future. Now, 2020 has been an extraordinary year in a lot of ways, but it's not all about COVID. We've had some great successes as well. Right now, one of the biggest changes, and it's really been a positive, we have a great commission in place. Last year, Robert Moore was elected chairman. Alec Farmer is now our vice chairman. And one sad note, though, a lot of these changes were at the passing of Chairman Tom Schick, which we really miss him, and we're sorry for his passing. Anyway, but we now have Marie Holder on the commission. She took Tom's place, and then she was appointed to a whole term of her own, which will go through 2031. That's a lot. What? It seems like a very far off year, but anyway. And of course, Commissioners Philip Towdle and Keith Gibson are just standing strong, staying steady, still here with us, so we're happy for that. We've had a lot of administration changes at the department. Of course, I was appointed director last year upon the retirement of Scott Bennett. And then Randy Ort took my spot. He's got 33 years with the department, and you know, his background is the primary spokesperson for the Public Information Office. But then he moved out of that role into more administrative roles, and he's my second in command, and I couldn't do what I do without him. Kevin Thornton, he was shuffled over to the Assistant Chief of Administration position. Now he has been in every branch of the department, so he just can't seem to find his spot. Jared Wiley took Kevin's spot, and he's doing an excellent job as Assistant Chief of Planning. Dave Parker joined us after 7 years with KTHB as their news director, and he's brought a wealth of rich knowledge to our department, and I just see bright things ahead with his leadership in the public information area of our operations. Jessie Jones, she took over Program Management Division Head when Jared was promoted. Steve Frisbee took over when Jessie left. That left her position open, so we promoted Steve Frisbee into that position. And then Will Cheatham took Steve Frisbee's place as District 3 engineer. So lots of changes last year. And we have a great team in place that is moving us forward. Let's talk a little bit about construction in 2020. This picture actually is of the East-West Arterial Extension. That project is really going forward at a fast pace. I got to take a tour of it not too long ago, and it's really something to see. I'd like for y'all to see that as well before it's over with. I think you'll all be very impressed with the construction going on out there, and it's going to be a beautiful road when it's finished. We'll just look at overall the state of all the projects awarded in 2020. If you add them all together, it's about $1.5 billion worth of work. that was awarded. I mean, that is under construction right now. Some of the top 10 projects are shown on the screen that were awarded in 2020. As you can see, one of the major ones was the 30 Crossing project for $570 million. And then the Highway 10 improvements over on Cantrell Road from Pleasant Ridge to Pleasant Valley. And you can't talk about 2020 without talking about issue 1. Okay, who put the timer on my slide? This is a sore point. So anyway, obviously it doesn't want to be on that slide, so that's okay. I probably put it on there and didn't know it. But anyway, issue 1, or the Renew Arkansas Highways Initiative, we kind of know the history of what went on in 2020. But, the first part of 2020, we went out to those regional meetings. We had 12 of them scheduled. We went out and these meetings were done in 2 parts. The first part was the staff would mingle with people that came to learn more about the Renew Arkansas Highways program and the projects that could be completed. And then we went into the second part of those meetings, which there was a big presentation given and a time for comments and questions from the public. And it really went well. And we got 9 of them done in different areas across the state. But then the COVID-19 pandemic became a reality. And so the last 3 we had to cancel. But overall, in those 9 meetings we were able to carry out, we had 674 attendees. We had 96 written comments and 71 people signed up to speak. Well, about the first month or so after we all, everything kind of shut down because of COVID, we kind of just were in a holding pattern. But then we realized we have to keep after it, we have to keep going. So we started to do some smaller in-person meetings, and we did quite a few online virtual meetings to educate the public about issue 1 and answer their questions and let them know what the Renew Arkansas Highways program would mean to our state, the different improvements that we had planned. We talked to Lions clubs, Kiwanis clubs, Chamber of Commerce groups, Rotary clubs, industry and technical groups such as the Arkansas General Contractors, Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association, the list goes on. We even made several presentations to the MPOs, the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and we presented the same presentation that we went to with all these groups to our own employees. All of these supervisors went out to our 3,700 employees and presented the facts about issue 1 and the Renew Arkansas Highways program. So we thought that was great. That was very well received, and we learned a lot. It's funny how COVID has pushed us and made us better in a lot of ways. And speaking of the vote, as we know, 55.3% voted for issue 1. 72 out of the 75 counties, it passed. And this just kind of shows you on this map how it fared across the state. It was an overwhelming victory for Arkansans as a whole, because we're going to be able to do so much more in making their transportation system the best it can be. So talking a little bit about our COVID response over the last year, with the challenges that were brought by COVID, as I said earlier, we've just learned a lot about new ways of doing business, about innovation, flexibility, creativity, and agility. All those things we had to embrace to get through this last year with all the challenges COVID presented to us. As you can see on March 11th, that's when the department knew that we were facing this pandemic, and we put together a preparedness and response team to start working towards what we needed to do. On March 12th, the governor declared it a public health emergency, and on March 20th, all non-essential employees, state employees, were sent home. That included here at the department. Some of the actions that we've taken to protect our employees include that we required all employees that could to work from home, to protect them and to protect those at work in the office so that there wasn't such a huge number of people all crammed together. The people that had to work, we arranged their offices so that they'd have that social distancing. We canceled out-of-state and in-state travel. We added cleaning services to make sure that the surface areas were clean and that we tried to prevent the spread with keeping those surfaces sanitized. We added those additional cleaning cycles to our rest areas and our welcome centers. We canceled in-person meetings, and the list goes on. Other actions that we took were on the construction side of things to help in the field to protect those folks in the field, our contractors and our employees. We moved to an all-electronic collection of material tickets. We implemented safety measures to provide inspection while being socially distanced. We worked with contractors to minimize or eliminate delays or delay impacts because of COVID. We worked with our contractors to help them through as well. There was so many things that we tried to do, and we just continue to do those things as we move through this COVID-19 pandemic. One of the things I'm really proud of is our efforts with the Department of Emergency Management in their continuity of operations plan. We were involved heavily with that, with more than 100 employees, more than 50 trips transporting personal protective equipment, medical supplies, and other pandemic-related items. Arkansas Highway Police officers assisted with safety, security, and escort operations. 3 department employees have been assigned and are assisting with daily activities down at the Joint Information Center, the state's Joint Information Center, which is the command center for the Department of Emergency Management. Other things that we've done is the department, we've transferred 2,200 N95 masks from the department to the state stockpile when there was a shortage of masks. We've loaned 2 forklifts to the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management for their use. We've kept our rest areas and welcome centers open, so that truck parking stayed available. On April 2nd, we were able to secure Federal Highway Administration's approval, and we put a food truck in place because truckers were having trouble finding places to eat. The Arkansas Highway Police distributed 100,000 masks to truckers. We've had daily communication with our employees. Crystal Woods, who's our Human Resources Division Head, has kept employees continually updated on where we're at with COVID. And in fact, our communication plan is so effective that the governor's office has used that plan with other state agencies. I was able to participate in the governor's daily press conference, and some of our employees worked together, and they actually sewed together, Christy was one of them, 3,000 masks to be used by our employees. Well, what was 2020 without the efficiency review, right? That was fun. We enjoyed it. No, actually, we learned so much from it, and it was a great exercise. And we had over 64 interviews with 86 key subject matter experts here at the department. Our staff worked so hard to make that efficiency review a success, and that was on top of their regular duties. So about 3,700 hours, employee hours, were devoted to that efficiency review. So there was a lot of hard work that went into that, and it was an excellent document that we'll use in the future. We had some weather events in 2020. The Jonesboro tornado, it was an EF3 tornado, which caused a tremendous amount of damage, and we were involved with helping with those cleanup efforts, and with the city and the county. It was a collaboration, and There were a lot of good came out of that very devastating storm. There were the southeast Arkansas Easter storms that were very, they were very serious. And that, as you can see, we can, of all these pictures, I've got some fun facts here. We spent more than $490,000 cleaning up debris. And in total, we picked up and hauled more than 8,000 cubic yards of material, which is a football field of debris stacked 5 feet high. So a lot of work went into cleaning up after those storms. We had the storms caused by Hurricane Laura that made landfall as a Category 4 storm in Louisiana, but then it was downgraded to a tropical storm here in Arkansas. There were trees blown down and there were highways that had to be closed, but we were prepared, and I'm proud to say because of our preparation, we took care of that damages and opened those roads in pretty good time. We had several awards in 2020. The Smart Cities Challenge Transforming Intersections Award, the grand prize was awarded to a Rogers Avenue project in Fort Smith. We received the Governor's Quality Award for Commitment, which, as you remember, there was a lot of staff time involved in making that application, and it was successful in us receiving that award. The American Concrete Pavement Association Awards, we received 3 of those, 2 on US Highway 67 and 1 on Interstate 630. We received a Perpetual Pavement Award from the Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association for Highway 79 in Jefferson County. This is our 10th award, Perpetual Pavement Award. And then we updated our partnering agreement, which is very important, between the department and the Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association. It just renews our focus on providing the best roadways possible for the state of Arkansas. We received the department was awarded $1.1 million from the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality to replace 7 of our trucks as part of the Volkswagen vehicle emission settlement. And we received, we were also awarded an infra grant on US Highway 67. And we were awarded 2 build grants on an extension of road in Monticello, and it's called the Highway 83 Spur, Highway 278 Connector in Monticello. And then also we received some funding for the US 67 corridor improvements. And I will just say that receiving these additional fundings, it seems like it's pretty easy when you look at these slides, but there's a lot of staff time, a lot of work that goes into preparing these applications and making them competitive so that we can take advantage of every dollar available to us at the federal level. So let's look forward to 2021. Some of the major projects we estimate to be completed in 21 are listed there on your screen. The top 2 that you can see there as far as monetary value is the White River Structure and Approaches on I-40 in Prairie County and the Highway 71 interchange of the Bella Vista Bypass. Projects scheduled to be let in 2021. A total of $976 million are scheduled. And the 10 largest projects scheduled for 2021 are shown there in this list. And they include the on 67 Jacksonville to Cabot widening and interchange improvements, and then also pavement preservation on I-30 between Sevier Street and Geyer Springs Road. Something we're really proud of and is really going to start making a difference in the state is a statewide bridge crew that we put into place. This was kind of the brainchild of Commissioner Farmer and District 10 Engineer Brad Smithy. Is that correct, Commissioner Farmer?
I just agreed with you.
In, District 10, in Commissioner Farmer's neck of the woods, we have a lot of posted and structurally deficient bridges that cause us a lot of problems. And a lot of those are on low-volume roads. And so we've put together this team that can go in there and improve or replace some of those smaller bridges that are causing quite a bit of trouble for the agricultural community and those types of things. We really see this as a positive. It's going to be a good way for us to improve a lot of these bridges in that area of the state, as well as all of the state, but we're going to be focusing in on that area at the beginning. We're really excited about it. Some of our goals for 2021. We were talking the other day, what are our goals for 2021? Well, we want to improve our outreach efforts. We want to improve our outreach efforts with the legislature so that they know more about the good things that we do. They get to know you as the commission better, and we just get out there and tell our story better. We have so many good things that we can report on and talk about, and we want to really make an effort of making that a top priority for 2021. And with Dave's help, with his background in communications, we're really looking forward to what all we can do in that regard. We also want to strengthen our outreach with the general public. We're going to really beef up our social media presence, as well as getting out there and talking to them in every opportunity to let them know the good things that we're doing. Let's see, other things that we want to do is enhance our ability to measure our successes. As we went through the efficiency review and study, if you'll remember, a lot of the things we were doing, but we didn't have measurements to show how much we had improved over time. We're going to correct that. We're going to do more measuring so that we can, as we tell our story, tell how good we have, where we've come from and where we're going and where we're at today and how we're improving. And so we're going to make a focus on enhancing our system of measuring those performances. We're going to develop a remote work policy. Right now we're doing remote work, but we haven't really figured out how that's going to look in the future. Right now it's a necessity. In the future it's going to be a great retention tool and recruitment tool, and just provide options for us in the future. We have learned that we can be productive with some of our employees working from home, so we want to expand on that and make that better and have a good plan in place and what that looks like and how to measure productivity. We want to implement new technology always, every year. This year we're looking at how to expand our e-construction, and also that picture over on your right on the screen, we're going to expanding our drone fleet, which is going to really improve our mission on the ground with surveys and design and those types of things. So that is my report for 2020 and 2021. I'd like to ask y'all if you have any comments or observations and
Question?
questions.
I just have one question. So there's going to be two CAP projects scheduled for 2021. Does that wrap up the CAP?
Yes, it does. Those are the last two projects, and we hope to have them under contract by the end of next year. And so all the projects that we promised in 2012 will be either under construction or completed.
Next year or this year, 2021?
2021, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. And I would like to say something that we kind of got thrown into because of the virus, but the public input sessions that we're doing virtually now, I've been kind of keeping up, tuning in, if you will, from time to time on them, and we have certainly got marked improvement in how we've gone through this, and I think it's the last couple that I've been on has really been efficient. I think people got a lot out of it.
Thank you. I know it's been a work in progress and we've gotten better every time. And I appreciate the staff and their continual quest of getting better in this new environment we're in.
And
So,
we've got one, Highway 112 up in Northwest Arkansas that we've had virtual public input sessions on. And I think I heard that we got 1,200 comments on that project. That would have been hard to fathom if we had all in-person
absolutely.
I think it gives them more people an opportunity for input on the projects that directly affect them in their
Yes.
daily life.
Yes, I think it's shown to be really a great way to get that public input, which we really want for our project.
Laurie, I'd just like to say that was a great recap on 2020 and an extremely difficult and challenging year. Congratulations on your very fine leadership, and that's also a very optimistic and a visionary presentation for 2021. So we look forward to those continuing efforts and continuing wonderful results. So on behalf of the commission, thank you and all the staff that contributed and made it possible during these difficult times.
Thank you very much, Chairman. It was a group effort for sure. All right, so looking ahead at upcoming events, kind of slow this time of year, I guess, compared to some of the times. But anyway, the SASHTO Board of Directors Retreat, which is virtual, will happen this Friday. I'll be on a state chamber panel February 11th. That's also virtual. I'm not even sure what I'm talking about yet, but anyway, sorry. February 19th, of course, y'all are aware of this because Randy's been coordinating this with you, but every year the State Chamber of Commerce does this leadership class and y'all are involved in that. And Randy's going to lead you through that. So he's done it before. He's very, very good at it. It's going to be great. It'll be great exercise for everyone. We have the AASHTO virtual Washington briefing that we'll be attending between February 23rd and 26th. On March 11th, there's a North Little Rock Rotary Club presentation that Kelly Wiley's going to give. I think it's mainly on 30 Crossing. And then on March 17th, we'll be back together on St. Patrick's Day for a commission meeting, so wear your green. And with that, I'll open it up for any other business or discussion, but that's the end of my report. I have nothing else.
Anything else? If nothing further, that will conclude our business here today, and our meeting will be adjourned. Thank you all very much. Great presentation.